This is Martin Novikov, and this is my TAB podcast. My project this semester concerns online social networks and terrorism. Specifically, I will examine how terrorist groups use online social networks and the internet to recruit members to their organizations and to finance their organizations. I will also explore how law enforcement uses these same online social networks and the internet to combat these terrorist groups. The reason why this subject matter is important is that, as a whole, but especially since 9/11, terrorist use of the internet and online social networks is on the rise. For example, in 1998, Al-Qaeda had 12 operational websites. In 2006, they have had 2,600 websites. Therefore, it is important to understand how and why terrorist groups use online social networks to conduct their day-to-day activities. On the most fundamental level, terrorist groups use online social networks like Facebook to recruit members to their organization because Facebook provides a forum and a venue by which a group can spread its ideology and propaganda. Compared to traditional methods of recruitment, the use of online social networks and the internet offer several distinct advantages. One such advantage is that online social networks are cheap. Another advantage is that it is easy and quick to use. Above all, the internet offers anonymity to its users. Therefore, potential recruits can know full well that it will be quite difficult for law enforcement to know their identity and to subsequently apprehend them. Another important feature of online social networks is that because of the internet, persons can communicate with one another regardless of geography. Therefore, a person does not have to be physically present in a terrorist organization to be a part of it. The spread of information, a group's ideology, and propaganda can be done simply and easily via the internet and online social networks. This is seen with audio sermons on a group's website being present and YouTube videos from a terrorist organization being present, in which a group explains to potential recruits and current members why they should be a part of a group's cause for financial, moral, and religious reasons. The spread of information allows a bond to be established amongst its members, as now all individuals are participating in the same activity and exposed to the same ideas. Through the spread of information and the bonds that are achieved through interacting on online social networks, a sense of community is achieved by terrorist organizations. The sense of community that's achieved makes it appealing to current members and potential members to be part of a group's cause. Rather than being marginalized and considered outcasts for their extreme views, individuals are welcomed to these terrorist groups because of their extreme views. This feeling of welcomeness and being a part of something bigger than themselves contribute to potential members joining a terrorist group. Another way that terrorists use online social networks is to finance their organizations. One such way that this is achieved is by using forums and venues like chat rooms found on Yahoo to discuss operational techniques to finance a group. This includes how to electronically transfer money to bank accounts without erasing the suspicion of authorities, how to hack into a person's personal information, and how to steal credit card information. Also, persons are able to discuss what current and future projects need funding. Terrorists also use online social networks to establish fronts and covers for nefarious activities. For example, a terrorist group will establish a seemingly legitimate business or charity, but use money raised for such charities and through such businesses on illegal and nefarious activities. In particular, my research has indicated that online gambling sites, due to the ease and speed of the internet, are preferred business fronts for terrorist groups. The concept of using seemingly benevolent and legitimate businesses and charities and organizations to raise money and then use these same organizations to filter and funnel money for nefarious activities is not a new concept. This concept, called money laundering, has been used by every major criminal organization, such as the mafia. However, the use of the internet to facilitate such money laundering is a new phenomenon and is now called cyber money laundering. As we can see in this slide, terrorists use cyber money laundering to finance their activities in a simple and quick manner. A terrorist group can establish an online gambling site and use the proceeds from this site to finance their illegal activities. Also, users who use the site with their credit card can have their credit card information hacked and stolen, and these credit cards can then be used to finance terrorist activities. Terrorists also use online social networks to discuss operational planning. For example, venues like Yahoo Instant Messenger and forums allow terrorists to exchange information and strategies concerning upcoming terror attacks, future terror attacks, and anything terror-related, such as how to make a bomb cheaply and easily using household ingredients. In particular, in recent times, YouTube has become a preferred forum for terrorist groups to discuss operational techniques, such as how to make a bomb using simple household ingredients and how to fire a rifle. This slide indicates how now terrorists are becoming increasingly reliant on YouTube, as it is free and easy to use to discuss operational techniques and methods. The advantages offered to terrorists by online social networks and the internet are not limited to terrorists, however. These same advantages are available to police and are used in their pursuit and efforts to combat terrorist activities and terrorist organizations. The U.S. is well aware of the importance of online social networks and the internet to terrorist organizations and has planned accordingly. In recent times, President Obama created the position of Cyber Czar to oversee all police operations as it pertains to initiatives to prevent and preclude terrorist activities via the internet. The U.S. has also created a series of laws aimed at hindering terrorist financing that occurs via the internet. Most notably, the Patriot Act has a specific provision in place in which banks must have anti-laundering mandates or face penalties. Police use online social networks as a treasure trove of information to understand terrorist organizations. After obtaining such information, police are able to directly attack the internet capabilities of terrorist groups. Police use a variety of techniques to attack and hinder the internet capabilities of terrorist organizations. One such strategy is called the distributed denial of service attack, in which law enforcement use multiple computers and multiple users to attack and hinder a website's connection to the internet. Another simple strategy that is used is a program that diverts a user's attempt to visit a terrorist organization's website. So for example, in this situation, a person will try to visit the website but will be diverted to a website that is benign. Another technique that police use is called smurfing, in which multiple users attack a terrorist organization's server. This technique is particularly useful to hinder the abilities for terrorist groups to communicate with one another via instant messenger. As we can see in this slide, the left picture illustrates a distribution of denial of service attack, and the right slide illustrates a smurf attack. Though both attacks vary in their approach, the concept and the goal is the same: to minimize the ability for terrorists to conduct their activities via the internet. This is important because no longer does a terrorist have to be physically present for police to interfere or interrupt their activities. Rather, law enforcement, with a simple click of a button, can hinder a potential terrorist attack. Another way that police use online social networks to combat terrorist recruitment is by using online social networks to understand the psyche, mind, motivation, and desires of terrorist groups, current members, and potential members. This is important in the long term to prevent terrorist recruitment. For example, oftentimes, based on my research, Terrorists will join a terrorist organization or participate in an act of mass murder because they deem that their religion, Islam, mandates and gives permission to conduct such acts. However, if police are able to understand that religion is a motivation for such acts, law enforcement can reach out to moderate Muslims who can counteract these violent messages with messages of peace. For example, that Islam does not allow for innocent people to be killed, but rather Islam mandates that everyone treat each other with respect. This will ultimately take away the initiative as to why someone joins a terrorist organization in the first place and therefore hinder long-term recruitment. In terms of the future, the use of online social networks and the internet by terrorists will increase. Knowledge as to how to establish a website for a front, or how to use online social networks properly without raising the suspicion of authorities will become as commonplace for terrorist organizations as how to fire a rifle and build a bomb. Given this increased use, governments must create laws that adequately delineate and reflect the rights of law enforcement to combat these terrorist activities via the internet. For example, if a person puts on his Facebook page that they support the bombings in Boston, does the government have the right to shut down that person's Facebook page? Or does the government have the right to do a background check on this individual? Laws must be established to clearly answer such questions. Finally, any laws that are established must balance the collective needs of this country while still maintaining the individual privacy rights of its citizens. This is a concept that we have discussed in class all semester.